Welcome,
Yes.
everyone, to our first of many public AMAs here at Fifth Kingdom. As you can see our names, I'm Fish Shadow, joined here by our other founder and also a good friend of mine, Zulfikar. And he and I, we both have business backgrounds. We've both been in business together for quite some time. We both have experience in information technology. We have a love for gaming, a love for Web3, and a love for this space. Though I would say he's more of a creative visionary, as they say, right-brained. And I would say I'm more of a logical, like systems-based person. They separate the left and the right brain, but I promise we both have our full brains intact. But just always think that's kind of funny when that's separated out. But in today's AMA, our number one goal is to explain, what Fifth Kingdom is, how it works, and most importantly, why it works. Because everybody tells you the what, they don't tell you the why. So, we're going to go over to gameplay. Some of you have had a chance to sample that already. Zulfikar had made an announcement this morning that the sample, the alpha, I should say, is up, and some of you have had a great time playing that. There's also going to be a live stream of that on Monday, so stay tuned for that as well. We're going to go over the mechanics of the system, the economy, as well as why Fifth Kingdom, we believe, has fixed this ongoing unsustainability issue that seems to plague all of Web3 gaming. We're going to go over our roadmap, community participation, and then, of course, we're going to answer many of your questions, those that were pre-submitted, of course, as well. The chat is ongoing, so feel free if you have a question there. Maybe we can get to it in addition. Maybe not, but we'll do the best we can. We're trying to go for an hour at most. There will be a recording of this, and we'll post a recording when we're finished as well. One primary important point that I want to make is, we want to get to know everyone in our community, right? As well as you folks getting to know us. As we build rapport, I would encourage you to just, sit back and relax and be yourself. I promise, as we said before we actually officially started, there is no bad question. It's only the question that you don't ask, they say, is the bad question. I promise that, me and Zulfikar, we do not bite. We might nibble a little bit, but we do not bite. So the goal, of course, like I said, is that, when Fifth Kingdom is being explained, detailed, outlined, that this is going to click. You're going to get it, and that'll allow, any missing pieces that may be missing at the moment to be filled in. And with that, Zulfikar, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Fifth Kingdom, how are you? I'm Zulfi. Looking forward to displaying everything we've been working on. I know you've all been very patient with us as we've been building this community, and you've had little things dribbled down. Inshallah, we will de-obfuscate the system that we've built and how they work together.
So I think the most of his question is, and the simplest question, what is Fifth Kingdom? For someone new here, or for someone who still doesn't have the full picture, what is Fifth Kingdom?
Surely. So the Fifth Kingdom, the most important thing to understand is that we are not an NFT project. We are a Web3 company. Our first product and our premier product is an NFT that acts as a service level agreement that will dictate your fees and serviceability for various other products and services that we offer through our ecosystem. So we plan to dominate every aspect of the Web3 experience, whether it's the NFTs, whether it's a token, whether it's utility digital assets, and everything we do is tied to something in the real world that adds tangible value, not just a perceived value. So our tokens are supported by value and by capital that is turned over in a real market, a secondary market, and then represented to you, the customer, via utility token or an NFT. So the idea here is that if our services were any more real in the digital space, you could put them in your pocket or eat them maybe one day. Once we have replicators, like Star Trek style, we'll get there. So that's what we're looking forward to doing. The Fifth Kingdom is the first aspect of our entire roadmap for what we hope to unveil to the greater crypto space. Fifth Kingdom, from a narrative point of view, it's a city. It's not an actual kingdom. It's sort of a amalgamation of citizens who have arrived from 4 existing kingdoms, and we'll unveil each one of those kingdoms over the storyline as it progresses. The Fifth Kingdom, if you wanted to think about it just visually, it's Dubai, it's New York, it's Gotham, it's Metropolis. It's where people go where what you were born with isn't equal to your aptitude. It's the reason why most of us come into crypto in the first place. We know we have it, we just weren't born with it. So inshallah, as you participate in the Fifth Kingdom experience, everybody will be able to extract from it what they want. They'll be able to play to their strengths. We have multiple different avenues. We have different utilities. We have different ways for people to be able to interact with the system. And depending on where your strengths lie, where your interests lie, feel free to lean into those aspects of the services that we provide. Our MVP, which is going to come out the end of July, inshallah, will be three-pronged. So we attack the issue of sustainability in the digital economy using three tools. One is our households. Our Lord NFTs, like I mentioned before, that's your SLA. That's your service level agreement between the project and you, the holder. That will dictate when you get into a service or a product, it dictates the terms of that service and product. You can strengthen your individual Lord based on supplying it with 5 other NFTs, which are called companions. These collectively make up your household. Your household will dictate your experience inside the system. So what your discovery rates are, the fees that you pay. Next, we have the gaming component. These are our delvers. These are the people that go out, they play the tangible video games. So it's not just a gamified spreadsheet. You play actual video games. Our current one is related to the mines that we're releasing. But you go through, you play the video game, and you acquire points. In this case, it's our embers. Some of you have already started to play, so you see how it works. You then use those embers to participate in the system, and I'll get into how everything intertwines after the fact. You have the households, which is our DeFi component. Then you have the video games, which is our play to earn component. And then you have governance. Now, I don't know about all of you, but I can comfortably say that a mob of people have never made a good choice in their life. If you have a situation where a mob gets to vote, like in a traditional DAO structure, they will eat the goose that lays the golden egg so that they can eat for one night. And then the next day, they go hunting again, trying to find another one. So what we've done is we've created a system where there will be voting that occurs. And we actually had this as a user submitted question, so I don't want to go for too much detail. So we'll get to that more. But the idea is that you as the community will elect whom represents you and your interests. And those players will be able to vote as part of the sovereign, which is our collective Congress of guild leaders. They will be able to vote for your interests, and they will represent the interests of their guild members and fellow members. Each sovereign member is called an archon, and they're allowed to vote once. So this is a way that we prevent titans, krakens, whales, dolphins, minnows. Everyone's equal. So every guild's going to have one vote, and they will be able to vote on different aspects of the project and how it interacts with the user base. And I'll just get more into that as we go. But in a nutshell, that's the Fifth Kingdom. The Fifth Kingdom is a narrative-driven story that allows people to participate via NFTs, tokens, a play-to-earn video game, and a guild-owned DAO structure in order to ensure that the user experience that we've provided is dictated and controlled ultimately by you, the players. Shadow, anything I missed?
You are demonstrating the visionary, creative aspect of it very well. No, I won't add a whole lot more. I mean, the reality is, I look at it very similarly, and also I look at a lot of different systems that, currently exist in the space, and there's sort of, buzzwords like play to earn, DeFi, gaming, ownership with NFTs, and I see us as merging all those worlds into a beautiful symbiotic relationship that does a great dance, that's sustainable, that's fun, that's long lasting, that is attacks it from a different angle, taking the best of all of those components and bringing them together and building a beautiful hypercar, sort of the way I look at it.
So now we're going to move to topic 2, which is about, I know Zulfikar already talked a bit about it, but maybe we're going to dive deeper into it. So we're going to talk about the gameplay and the mechanics. So from what we see in the light paper, we see lords, we see companions, households, exploration, fleets, mines, trade routes, and progression through strategy. So our question is, can you walk us through the main gameplay loop? For example, like if a new player is joining in and they want to get involved, and activate their household. What happens next? How do they go about the gameplay?
Certainly. So the first thing to do is to purchase an NFT. Your NFT is your lord. Each lord has 2 stats: a primary stat, which is a discovery rate That'll be the yield that you get from the different expeditions you can go out on. And the second is going to be one of two things. It's either going to be a yield increasement or it's going to be a fee reduction stat. When it gets rolled, you'll get one of the two. So you'll see when you get your NFT, you'll see whether its secondary stat is a fee reduction or a yield increase. And as you build out your household, the goal is to try to get yourself as close to that 5% cap as you can get, while also reducing the fees that you pay within the system. So if we start with the households, it's a DeFi system. Mines get opened up and you can deposit USDT into those mines. Each mine has a set amount of yield that can be withdrawn from it. So it's built on either a 2x, a 3x, or a 4x mechanism. So if it's a 10,000 USDT mine and it's a 2x, 20,000 USDT worth of treasures can be extracted from it. If it's a 3x, 30,000 USDT of treasures could be extracted from it. This creates a finite resource mechanism so that things don't go on forever and we don't run into the issue of compounding, which is the eighth wonder of the world. And this is how economies tend to get ran away with. So when you get into a mine as a lord, you know exactly what your discovery rate's going to be. And I'll get into the fact that there's certain things you can do to manipulate that and play with it and sort of choose your own adventure. But that's the primary function of a household, is to try to get your yield as high as possible and your fees as low as possible. And then you deposit the USDT, and every month you withdraw your treasures. You pay a fee of 15% on those treasures, and that fee goes to the delvers who unlock the mine. And when I get into the play to earn element, you'll understand how the two systems are symbiotic. So right now we're starting with mines. We list other expedition types like trade routes in the white paper, just to let you get an idea of what we're going towards. But at MVP, it's only going to be the mines. That's why if you start playing the Dungeon Survivors game right now, you'll see that we're in a dungeon setting. It's because we want the immersion to be related to the expeditions that you're playing with in the gamified sort of side of the system, in the DeFi side. Eventually, we will unleash and unveil more ecologies and different resources you can get. Right now in the mines, you can get either gems or metals, depending on which mine it is. I'm going to go to the delving section now. So that's the households, and that's how it works. So it's a DeFi system with deposits and a monthly discovery rate. You withdraw treasures. So when you go your withdrawal, it's going to be a treasure, and it depends on which type of mine you got into. If it's a ruby mine, a sapphire mine, a gold mine, a mithril mine, that'll be the treasure you withdraw. Now, if you're the kind of person who says, treasures are great, and there's a lot you could do with it, and I'm going to tell you everything you could do with it, but I kind of put USDT in, and I want to get USDT out. You can play the game and use your embers to purchase vouchers. Those vouchers will allow you we will do a guaranteed buyback, which is where the project will use USDT to purchase your treasures from you. So that's a way for you to put USDT in and get USDT out if that's what you elect to, while still playing a game of skill and chance and being rewarded for your time, effort, and energy. Now, if we get to the play to earn game, that's how everything starts to get built up for the households. As you play the game, we're going to have a global counter. As embers get mined by the community, once we hit that global counter limit, mines will get unveiled. And there's an RNG table for randomness. Some of the treasures are more rare than others, so certain mine types will get revealed. Larger mines obviously will be more rare than smaller ones. More rare materials will be less common. So those will get spawned based on participation in the game. Delvers have to clear these mines out of all the ghosts and ghouls that are inside of them before they can have miners go in there and start extracting the wealth, right? So that's the narrative connection between the two. So as mines get populated, households deposit the USDT, you pay your fees to the delvers. So as a delver, if you're playing the game from a play to earn element, this is our philosophy. It wouldn't make sense, and there's a reason why every single game fails. You have to understand velocity of money, you have to understand basic monetary theory, because you cannot create value out of nothing, and it can't be backed by hype and wag me. So if I were to just issue a token, and that token gets given to you, and then you can go cash it out at a liquidity pool, we all know how that liquidity pair works. People will extract, and they will extract, and they will extract, and not enough will come in, the token devalues. Now it's no longer worth your time. So what we did was we took your effort and your time, and we're coupling that to a real world financial service. That's the household. So as a delver, just by you playing, you're creating the mines that the households can deposit into, and then you take your personal points and you go claim and unlock the mines that you want to be an owner in. So as you unlock them, once a mine is fully unlocked, then the households can deposit. And as they pay their fees, as those lords pay their fees, they're not paying them to me, they're not paying them to Shadow, they're not paying them to any member of the team or the project. They're paying them to the delvers that claimed and unlocked those mines. So we call this a play to earn game, but you're not getting a token that's going to speculatively devalue. You're being paid by the people in the project that participate in the DeFi system. And we're going to get into what decisions do we as the project founders make, and which decisions do you as the players and the leaders of the community make? And I'll get into that when we get to that question. But Jean-Claude, I think that's a good breakdown for generally how the system works at a 40,000 foot view. Players unlock mines. High lords deposit into those mines. They claim their discoveries. They claim them via treasures, which you can do different things with the treasures. And I'll get into that again with the user questions. Sorry, I'm trying to keep it within an hour, but I love this system. I could talk about it for 10 hours.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah. So I think that was like really a nice breakdown, and I think everyone's excited hearing this. So let's understand a bit about companions, because that's thing I don't think we mentioned that. So like, how do the lords and companions work together in the system? So if we can answer that.
Yeah, certainly. So it goes back to the household system. So that first prong of our three-prong philosophy. So all the NFTs are lords. Any NFT that you own can be a lord. The only difference between a lord and a companion is the relationship in your household. So it makes sense that you want the highest discovery rate. So your best discovery rate, your rarest NFT is going to be the lord. That's going to be your primary discovery rate. You can support that person with up to 5 other lords. And when an NFT is placed in the secondary companion role, we refer to it as a companion. And so your 5 companions plus your lord makes up your household. And like I was saying earlier, what you want to do is you want to try to use your best discovery rate for your main lord, and then you want to try to get as high as you can to that 5% max yield. And then you want to try to reduce your fees as much as possible. So I'll give you an example. In the demo account that we have, I have a 5% discovery rate and a 9% reduction in fees. That's my demo household. And I don't have very good luck. So I don't know if I'm going to get that in the live version, but we'll see. And just so everyone's aware, as far as the project's concerned, I know this is a little bit new for people, because what we're doing is not just selling you a product that we hope has a value. Everything's tied to a real world service, a real licensed entity. Shadow and I, nobody on the team has any freebies. Nobody's getting gifted anything. Nobody has anything. We play the game just like all of you. We have to earn our embers just like all of you. We will have to purchase our NFTs just like all of you. Everything will be on the blockchain. Everything will be immutable. And I'm praying at the Church of RNG because I want a mythic big time.
Yeah, and that leads me actually to our third topic today, and I think it's a very important topic. Let's talk about the economy and the rewards. I think in every Web3 community, that's like a very important and very crucial topic we should talk about, because everyone, like when they are joining like a DeFi project and Web3 gaming, they will ask about the rewards, and they would want to understand the economy, and for example, where are the rewards coming from? So can you like explain the economy like in simple terms? How does the economy of Fifth Kingdom works?
Absolutely. So the first thing everyone needs to understand is there's no borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. No tokens will ever go, no value will ever go from member A to member B, unless you use the marketplace and you're selling an item that you created, right? That's the exception. You know, if you list something on a secondary exchange or on our marketplace, clearly that'll be between user A and user B. But the value that's captured, every withdrawal, every discovery that you claim, that's a real world value that's gathered off chain, and I'll walk you through it. So when you deposit into the mines, that USDT is then transferred to our licensed money management partner. When you claim your discovery rate, that's a utility token. Which token you get will be dictated based on the type of mine that you got into, and we'll be releasing those lists soon. They'll be on the wiki, so you understand if you get into a gold vein, what are the odds you get X tokens? What are the odds you get X materials? That's why we call them treasures. Now, when you get those treasures, you can do 2 things. You can either use them in a crafting system, and that crafting system will let you build weapons, armor, jewelry, things that either enhance your household or enhance your gaming experience as a delver. They'll do both things. But if you're a person who says, look, I like DeFi because token in, token out, what we do is, like I said, we have a guaranteed buyback mechanism. What does that mean? You can use your embers to purchase a voucher. That voucher can be used in order to allow the sovereign, the collection of guilds, the project, to buy back those treasures from you for USDT. Where does that USDT come from? It's earned through secondary markets. We'll have audits and we'll show you how the sausage sort of gets made, but it's a lot of Forex, indexes, privatized security loans, things like that, real estate. All of that gets turned over to like a real world profit. It goes to an exchange. We purchase the USDT. It goes to the treasury. So every month when the treasures are ready to be claimed, we already have the full amount of USDT available in the treasury buyback, just in case every single member elected they wanted to use a voucher to get USDT. So that's where the value comes from. That's where the USDT comes from. No USDT that is ever put into the system gets recycled back to a withdrawal. That's Ponzi-nomics. It's irresponsible. And it's a reason why we have a 5% cap. Now in crypto, of course, people like to advertise their best days. And you'll find, and I don't want to go for too much information because I don't want to nag anybody, but every Forex trader will show you their best month. They'll show you their best day. They'll never show you the trend over time. So I hope that you see our 5% monthly yield as being a sign of maturity and discipline, because the worst thing we can ever do is not deliver on a promise or an expectation when you've given us your tokens, your time, and your trust. So we are very confident that month over month, we can fulfill at least a 5% liability if we had to purchase back every single treasure that was issued by the project. And then I'll come back to this during the user questions. Jean-Claude, do you think that answered the question? Shadow, anything to add?
I'll jump in here for a quick second. I know we're limited on time. So kind of picture this for a minute. You guys have been playing play to earn games. Maybe you've been involved in DeFi, but we'll just focus on the play to earn component for a minute. They'll do a pre-sale, right? You'll get a token. That token will have a liquidity pair. So it'll be on a DEX or something, right? And, if you pair 1,000 tokens with something on the other side, well, guess what happens is what ends up happening is that if you buy in the pre-sale, they take a percentage of that for the team. And then what ends up happening is that they take it from you and they just move it across the table to somebody else. And it becomes one of this giant situation where it's like, who can get the tokens out before the other person before it crashes. And that essentially is play to earn, because it's the same tokens being recycled, just slowly, or sometimes quickly, depending on who's a whale and who's, being able to get in first. That's usually how Web3 works. That's why it typically ends up being unsustainable. And there are some tokenomics. People get clever with it. They'll do a staking mechanism. They'll do some kind of slow emission type thing. And sometimes it makes it last a little longer. But the reality is, unless there's ongoing demand, you pull one side out of that liquidity pool, like selling, it's only a matter of time before it goes to zero. So in this system, we don't do that, right? So we're not taking money from Peter to pay Paul, moving it around the table and making it, hey, you get this, and then you unlock a token, and then eventually everybody's just doing the same thing, and there's no actual value for it. There's things in tokenomics like velocity and utility and use and all the things that a lot of projects tend to miss. So they don't bring value on chain, they just move value from one side of the table to the other. But if you picture that, if you're playing this game with the NFT, you unlock a mine, you've got people that want the DeFi component, right? So that you have people that want to see these mines open because they want to deposit USDT, because maybe they have a 3, 4, or 5% monthly NFT and they want to get those resources, and then eventually maybe they want to get their USDT out. So there's actual demand for the mines. That's the DeFi part. So the DeFi feeds the play to earn feeds the DeFi. And the DeFi has a value that is brought off chain, brought back on chain. So what's happening is that you're having real value come back on chain as opposed to taking something from one side of the table and moving it to the other. So just really brief on the actual sustainability of the economy itself.
Yes, thank you. That was like a really good explanation. And okay, now we're gonna move to our next topic before we lastly move to our community questions, because I already see we have a lot of questions, and we already have questions that we got from the submissions to answer. So before we go to community questions, I want to talk about the roadmap and what's planned ahead. We already see in the light paper we have 4 phases. Please, if you can walk us through those phases. And where do we see Fifth Kingdom going to, and what milestones do we have in the upcoming month?
So at MVP, our goal is to have the household system in effect, to have the play to earn game in effect, and to have the governance structure in effect. Right now, what you can do with your Ember is unload classes and buy things in the game. What you can do with your utility tokens is exchange them for Ember to do more of the same. The next phase is going to unlock things that you could do with your treasures. You'll be able to, like I said, have a crafting system. We're going to have an academy where you can create new skills. We're going to allow your NFT to be able to grow. And I didn't go into that earlier, mostly because these are user-generated questions that we're going to get to. Golden Muslim actually asked the question, what do we hope people can do with their NFTs? A lot. And there's a reason why we're using the term utility maxing. Is the question is really going to be, what can't you do with it? Because there are going to be things that we had not planned that users are going to suggest, and we'll just build it into the system. It's a real world, and these are, if you think about them, real people. Your NFT is your self-insert into the system. So anything that we could do leveraging the services and products that we have, we can create. So our goal is to eventually expand the amount of expeditions people can go on to, so they can get different types of treasures, so we could build different things. Right now, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, we are doing gems and metals. Why? Because those are the things you're going to be able to craft to make weapons, armor, and jewelry, which enhances the existing systems. Eventually, you're going to be able to get lumber and cloth, and you'll be able to make new things that you can use in new systems that are unveiled. The next thing coming up are dragons. What do dragons eat? If you read E.E. Knight's novels, you'll know they love metal and gems. Smog does not want you to mess with his house. It's his hoard. That's what you'll use to feed your dragons. What do dragons do? We'll get to that later. I plead the fifth right now. So as we
Yeah,
expand out, everything that we do right now, the most important thing for people to understand is that every treasure and every item, every material that gets farmed right now through the expeditions are what we are going to use to literally build this digital world. So unlike other projects that try to open up a metaverse or create a world, and they ask you to come in, and the only thing they have to sell you is hype and hopium, and if enough people like it, it's almost like speculative NFT trading. If other people like it, it's worth something. Every single treasure that is used in our system has an actual real world associated value to it, which means that it's actually worth something. So when you use stones, wood, metals to create something, it has an actual value. That's the value of using blockchain technology. It's an immutable receipt system. It
exactly.
just has to be paired
Uh,
with something real.
yeah, exactly. And now we're gonna move to the community questions, and we're gonna try to take some of the questions that are live, that are in the chat. So moving to the community questions, which won and which were submitted. The first question is by Only One OG. Only One OG says that most Web3 gaming projects fail not because of technology, but because they cannot solve the conflict between player incentives, token value, and sustainable gameplay. If Fifth Kingdom were forced to operate for 5 years with no new users entering the ecosystem, what mechanism with your game economy, governance structure, and progression system would allow the kingdom to remain functional, engaging, and economically sustainable? Additionally, what assumption about player behavior are you making today that, if proven wrong, could pose the greatest threat to your vision?
So this was the first challenge we had to solve, and we sort of talked about it earlier when we said, look, there's no liquidity pool that you're just draining. That model doesn't work. You can't issue a token and just hope somebody's going to buy it. So the fact that all of the value is used as a buyback from off-chain purchases, that's the sustainability. We don't have to have a new member. Your buybacks don't come from new members entering after you. There is no bag left to hold. So if we didn't sell another collection ever, and these were the only members we ever had in our project, it would be enough to last for as long as the markets exist. Short of World War III or the complete collapse of the entire financial structure in the world, we wouldn't have any issues. And again, it's because we have access to actual value generation. We're not just using new members to pay old members. Which assumption are we
Yeah,
making?
sorry.
I'm kind of hoping that people
Yeah.
enjoy making 12 to 60% a year APY in treasures. We've done our market research, and nobody else offers those levels of returns. Not for real.
And at the same time, you are playing a game and you're participating in an ecosystem, and you are like a gamer, and yeah, so you are participating in both gamify and in DeFi. So yeah,
Kind of like Burger King. You can
moving.
have it your way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and now moving to the second question by Haim Zhu. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correct. So your terms mention a DAO where holders vote on how royalties get reinvested, but they also say a lot sits at Fifth Kingdom as sole discretion. I'm not coming at the team. I genuinely want to understand where does community power actually start and end, because those two things living together long term is something I need clarity on before I go all in as a citizen. That's the
That's a great
question.
question. Great
Yeah.
question. So when it comes to, for example, what do the characters look like in the store? When it comes to which items are offered in the store, when it comes to things like what does the website look like, those are at our discretion. Which links are on the website, things like that are our discretion as the company. I gave the example of people being able to withdraw treasures and then using the buyback mechanism. Well, what if somebody elects not to do that? Well, then there is USDT that has been unclaimed. We don't sweep those funds. We don't just say, oh, well, they took the treasures instead of the stable tokens. We keep the stable tokens. That's going to go into an at use pot. And then every month, the sovereign will be able to elect what we do with those. Whether they use those to buy digital items that get used in giveaways, raffles, whether we just airdrop it equally to all holders, whatever they elect to do, is what they elect to do. When it comes to fees in the system, the sovereign's gonna be able to vote on fees. I don't know how to service every single community member's needs. Any founder that tells you that they can know everybody by name, need, and ability and everybody's individual situation, they're lying to you. You know who's gonna know you best? Your fellow players, your friends, your community members, your guild leader. How am I gonna know what you need? The guild leaders, the archons are gonna tell us this is what we need, this is what we want. So the relationship, and I didn't want to hit it on the last question, but when people ask, well, how are you going to dictate and be agile and move according to player behaviors? You're going to have to tell us. So if something is not, if the juice isn't worth the squeeze, the sovereign's going to have to make it worth the squeeze. So the relationship between the delvers and the high lords, a lot of that's going to be negotiated amongst the players themselves. The power is yours, Captain
Yeah.
Planet. He's a hero.
Yeah. And
Going to take pollution down to zero.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And that takes me to the third question by Go On Boy One. I hope I'm also pronouncing the name correctly. And actually, that has something to do with the question also before. So the question says, detail the interplay between High Lords, DeFi exploration via USDT deposits, mines with NFT hordes, 50-50 splits, and Delver's game loop global points unlocking mines. How are risks, reward, and incentives balanced so neither side dominates or exploits the other long term? Sorry.
Certainly. So the High Lords deposit, and all fees get played to the Delvers. Well, when you deposit, it's locked. It's locked until the mine goes dormant. Once a mine is fully mined out, it goes dormant. What happens to that initial deposit? Traditionally, I would keep it. Of course, right? I deserve it. It's how the project makes money. Yeah, not at the Fifth Kingdom. So who gets that money back? It gets split 50-50. The initial locked principal gets split 50-50 between the delvers that unlocked the mine and the initial depositor. So you get half your deposit back at the end. So it's a big bump for the play to earn players, and it's a 50% return on your initial deposit in the token that you initially deposited in for the High Lords. So even if all you did was take the treasure and you'd never once used a voucher, at the end of the mine, you would get 50% of your stable tokens back.
Yes, I think that's clear. Sorry, guys, I'm seeing some of you asking questions in the chat. We are first finishing the questions that are already submitted, and we may take some if we do have time from the chat. So, but either way, we're gonna get all your answers, all your questions
Just so
answered.
you know, too, I'm
Yeah.
doing the best I can to manage the chat. So I might answer your question. I might not. If you don't get your question answered, we have a whole server here. Tag us, DM us, and we'll be happy to answer any question that does not get addressed.
And we will be also having AMAs and calls next week. So please feel free to ask us. So the fourth question is about NFT identity. It's an NFTs related question. It is from Golden Muslima. And Golden Muslima asks, NFTs in the Fifth Kingdom are described as identities rather than collectibles. In 3 years, what would you hope a player can do with their NFT identity that would be impossible in a traditional game account system?
So like I mentioned before, this is your self-insert. It is a digital identity. It carries with you. We do have a KYC system. If you want to use our DeFi system, you do have to KYC. We have a partnership with SumSub. 3 years from now, what I hope somebody would be able to do is, one, they would be able to interact with multiple different ecosystems using their Fifth Kingdom NFT as their digital identity, meaning that once you're identified and verified here, you can go multiple different places and you don't have to re-sign up. Second, you should be able to, if I'm just telling you what my vision is, and I'm getting in trouble here, you should be able to purchase real world assets with your digital systems. You should be able to get into your dashboard and you should be able to buy land, lots, armies, digital items that have real world value. My goal would be that if you bought a building and you owned ownership in a building in the Fifth Kingdom, it would be attached to owning a piece of a building in real life. So that's the goal. The goal is that everything you purchase in the digital world, it should have some sort of a tangible one-to-one value in the real world. Nothing, value can't come from nowhere, and you can't live on other people's speculation and what they might do. So that's our goal. Our goal is that your character, as it grows, right now you're a lord, you don't have a name. We're going to be releasing the name function so you can name your characters. You're going to be able to earn surnames, which give you bloodline bonuses. So if you partner certain bloodlines together, certain families get along better, you get ancillary bonuses. You're going to be able to earn titles. Things that you do will always give you a bonus. I'll just say this really quickly. I used to be in a world first WoW guild. I know. Calm down. Yeah, I've met Chris Metzen. Anywho, I have a Yogg Zero light kill. I have a Death title from 2009, and it was sick. If I were to try to play the game now and I tried to get into a world first guild, I wouldn't even get looked at, because what have you done lately? How are you up to date on current things? Our goal is that as you earn titles in this system, it doesn't matter if you started playing our game and interacting in our system right now, and then you come back in 7 years. What you did now still matters. The bonuses and the titles that you have will still give you a benefit with whatever new system we build. Everything is meta and everything is viable. That's our goal, is that we've built a system, we've architected one where no matter what you do, no matter what stage you are using a service or a utility, everything's meta and everything's viable. Nothing is going to fall out of favor. Of course, new things are always going to be the flavor of the month, but everything is always going to have a value. Nothing is going to be outdated. And anytime we release a new system, you will have access to it with your NFT. So you're not have to go buy a new thing to get access to it. So the earlier you get in, it just means every time we come up with something new, you then get to do that new thing. It's like how if you have a PS2, you get to play all your PS1 games. But imagine if you didn't have to buy a PS2. You just had a PS1 and we just sent you one and you played all the new games. I hope that answered her question.
Yes, I think it answered very well. And now moving on to the fifth question selected from the community and winner. It's from Web3 Emmanuel. So he says, with Lord modifiers assigned through RNG at Mint, how does the team plan to ensure that participants with lower modifier outcomes remain competitively engaged long term without feeling structurally disadvantaged from the start?
This is why we created the households in the first place. When we first created the system, you were going to have one Lord, and depending on your RNG, that was going to dictate your outcome. Well, there's a large delta between a 1% and a 5%, especially when you analyze it. So what we did was said, okay, we'll go ahead and buy 5 other ones. We'll give them a different type of bonus, and you could apply that. You could sort of put together your own team of Avengers. So using your household is going to be the first way that you could sort of make up for any bad rolls, right? Or perceived bad rolls. After that, using the system, being able to craft items will then further be able to enhance your user experience. So we're giving everybody the tools, either through luck, skill, or planning, to reach the highest levels that the project offers. Everyone can get there. You're either going to get lucky or you're going to work for it, but it's always possible.
Exactly. And
So you're
that
saying there's
that's
a
actually
chance.
that actually speaks about the fairness of the system. So Zulfikar or Shadow, do you want to take some questions from the chat that we have live right now? So
Of
we
course.
can maybe take one. We do have time to take 1 or 2 questions before we close up.
Well, I saw one real quick. If you don't mind, I'll just pick it out. Somebody asked about a burn back
Yes, please.
mechanism. No, there's no burn
Yeah.
back mechanisms. Just so you guys know, anytime you see a burn back, it's a scam. That's just my opinion. It doesn't make sense mathematically. It doesn't make sense economically. It's not real. That doesn't make sense. You release a token with a certain value with a preset mint amount, and then you're going to burn back so you can artificially manipulate supply. That's bogus. And we don't have a token to do that with. but no, and we'll never do that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I like never seen it to work anywhere. Maybe it worked somewhere, but I've never seen it, and I've been years in DeFi.
Well, you heard it here
Yeah,
first. It's a scam. It's a scam. Wallahi
yeah,
aladim.
exactly.
There are,
Um,
yeah, there's some really good questions. A lot of the questions, sorry,
yeah,
Zulfikar's been answering the questions. I've been manning the chat. It's a fast moving chat, so I apologize. I'm not jumping in more. A lot of the questions are geared around towards the actual mines. So, for instance, if somebody is depositing into the mines, how often are the delvers earning, and what does that sort of look like? And keep in mind also, if there's multiple mines, are people going to want to wait and try to farm the best mine? You have DeFi, right? DeFi people are usually they're playing in like a staking mechanism, or they're playing in liquidity pools with super duper high risk liquidity pool. If you ever done farming in LPs, then you get the gamer side of the play to earn side, where people are playing a game, having a fun time, and are earning, which is typically the unsustainable portion, which we've married together to make sustainable. But on the DeFi component side, if you have a Lord that is 3-4%, for example, and you've built out your companions enough to where their additional bonus is bumping up to 5, if you see a mine open, that mine can only accept so much USDT. So I don't know if you want to like risk waiting for another mine to open if it's maybe somewhat a little better because it's maybe a 3x instead of a 2x, for example, of how much it can hold, right? I think if you see a mine and it's available, in my opinion, you're going to probably jump into it because you may not even be around when the next mine opens up. This could be based on user gameplay. So I don't think that's a concern, but there was just a number of questions based on mines and mine availability, and people going into the mines and things of that nature. I think for people looking for something that is a resource generation return in this market, I think if you find something better than this, let me know.
yeah. I think we those are the questions we have for today. I want to thank everyone for being here today. Please, Zulfikar and Shadow, if you have any closing statements, and before I like say my conclusion for the AMA.
Yeah, John, do you mind if we just do a couple more of these? I just see a couple that came in at the
Yeah,
last moment that are pretty good, and I'll try to be succinct. We've got about 8 minutes here.
let's
So Tobinson asked, he
let's
said
do
he's a
it.
product manager. By the way, bro, I myself am a Lean Sigma black belt, no autographs. But one of the biggest challenges, he says, in Web3 gaming is retention after the initial launch excitement dies down. So my question is this: what specific mechanisms? Brother, it's the whole mechanism. This is not a hype train where people put money in, and Shadow went into the whole spiel about, I didn't want to educate you guys on liquidity pairing, but the reason why, so what you're describing is an outcome from a lack of architecture. So what happens is if I sell you on a token, everyone gets hype, everyone wants to play the game, a bunch of money comes in. I use the money that came in to create a liquidity pair. Half of it goes to the native token I'm creating, the other half is the actual value that is compared to. And then once people get excited, they want to make money. They want to get rewarded, whether it's money, they want to make value, they want to make a return, they want to get something for their time and effort. So they just start extracting. That requires constant feeding. You constantly have to feed the beast, and it is it's like the US government. It's a vacuous beast that will never be fed, and it will suck on the players' teats until they are chapped and raw. It doesn't work. Our system is divorced from that. Our play to earn doesn't come from you being a person who gets rewarded in a token and then you go drain a liquidity pair. You become almost like a borderline service provider. You are part of the economy itself. Your playing enables the ability for people to deposit. Your claiming makes you the owner of that deposit mechanism. The players that deposit are paying you for your effort in opening the mines for them. It's much different. So we don't have to worry about a hype cycle. We don't have to worry about, do we have enough new people coming in? We don't need a single new person to come in. So once people come in, we have a system, we have a finite static monthly expectation of value aggregation, and that can go from now until Isa alayhi salam comes back. That's Jesus for the rest of you.
My background is more in the sort of Web2 business world, e-commerce. I've also ran service-based businesses as well. And I've never come across a business in my experience in outside of Web3 where you did not need a new customer. I mean, if you go to Walmart, can Walmart operate if not a single new person walks into their door? Any class on planet Earth, any equity, any commodity requires people to come and purchase it or participate in some sort of fashion, right? So what people in crypto tend to do is because the hype only lasts for so long, for a lot of projects is they typically will start to create, what is now coined as Ponzi-nomics, right? Which is take from A, move to B, take from B, move to C, and then A's wondering, what happened to my return? And then there's, of course, a person on the top that's getting a part of it. You don't even know about that until later. But, when you have value that you're bringing on chain that does not currently exist, and you're generating that in the real world, that is where the true sustainability comes in. Now, I will tell you this, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I want new customers, right? I want to see the community grow. I want to see more people come in. In my experience, having built systems and products and services, there's no greater reward when you see people actually enjoying the product. When that first person buys the product, when they tell you their feedback and they love it, or they have constructive feedback as well. But regardless, when they consume and use that product, and it's working as intended, that's the greatest feeling as a business owner and as an entrepreneur. So I want more of that. I'm a little bit greedy in that regard. So I'm always going to go out and get new people. But for the record, it's not as if, hey, if people stop coming in, the system stops working. It doesn't operate that way because we're bringing real value on chain that does not currently exist. So that's for that question. We have a couple minutes left. One of the things I wanted to mention also, again, we don't bite, I promise. If you have a question, if you're a suggestion, maybe even, tag us in the Discord, send me and Zulfikar friend requests, DM us. A lot of founders I've come across, but I've been in crypto since 2021. Right around the pandemic. I think that's when a lot of people, this space exploded. So you've had probably a lot of experience with founders, maybe even longer than I have. Had a lot of experience with founders like I have. And projects launch and founders are they're sort of like at the top of the food chain and the community comes last, right? And to me, my business coach always told me that you could be selling the cure for cancer. If nobody cares, then it makes no difference what you're selling, right? So at the end of the day, community is one of the most vital things. So if you ever have a question, you ever have a suggestion, a feedback, something maybe doesn't make sense, or you maybe are confused on something, tag us, DM us, message us. And also for those who participate in the thread contest, we'd love to know, are you here in the Discord? If you're here in the Discord, please let us know. We'd like to just get to know you a little bit better. We saw some of those threads on X. And we weren't sure some of those people were in Discord. So we'd love to get to know you also if you participate in that as well. So please feel free to reach out to us. But that's not just for them. That's for anybody else who would just like to get to know us better and get to know the product a little bit better. Do we want to take any more questions, Zulfikar? Anything that's super important before we close up?
One quick one, because there's a good question about delving, like the player cycle. So let's say that you're a delver. You go and you play the game. As you see right now, you have a max of 100 embers a day you can claim. So that sort of incentivizes people to play daily. You try to max out your daily allowance. And inshallah, there'll be ways for you to be able to claim more than 100 embers a day. So once you see the value of the embers compared to the USDT claimability in the mines, you start to be able to map out and math out sort of what to expect and where to leverage your points. I hope that answered your question. And again, everyone, the proof is in the pudding and the pudding's in the eating. We can show you the pudding. You're going to be able to eat it soon.
We want to point out that on Monday we will have our first just like a small call between me and the mods. We will be playing the game, and we want to. It's still like the alpha version, but we'll be playing the game. I hope you guys, if you have time, to join us so we can play together, explore, and look if you have any feedback, so we can take it to the team. And we do have a channel made. Bug report. If you have any bugs you're facing in the game, you can report it there or anywhere else on the website.
But just so you know, if you're tagging me in this chat's moving fast. So post it in general chat. I'll get to you, or even DM me. I'll get to you. So I'm sure I missed a question or two. I'm being a little facetious. I'm sure I missed a dozen questions by not seeing that. Slide into the DMs. That's what they say, right? That's the terminology today. So please join us Monday, as Jean-Claude just mentioned, for the gaming stream. That'll be, I think, as you see the game, and we can explain it as it's being played. I think that'll be really key, and I think you'll be able to actually see it sort of in action there.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to mention that I will be announcing it right after the AMA, and you can click interested and on the event, so you get notified once we're live in the game playing.
I have one last thing I would like to say before we leave,
Sure.
And then I will let you guys close up if you want. There was a question that was asked, and we didn't choose it, but I thought it was a great question. By the way, y'all submitted phenomenal questions. It was very difficult to choose.
They were very difficult to go through, trust me.
but it was about the native token. So everyone in either phase 2 or phase 3, depends what the archons decide, we will release the first major expansion. So this, we're not talking dragons, we're not talking about new expeditions, we're not talking about ships, we're not talking about guild halls. We're talking about like a big expansion where it's almost like a separate game that gets grafted in. It's called Kingdom Builder. The only thing I'll tell you right now is that that is going to be the creme de la creme of DeFi systems. That token is going to redefine tokenomics in this entire space. If Fifth Kingdom represents the stars and each one of our expeditions represents the stars in the sky, then this is going to be the moon, and it's going to illuminate everything below it and shame everything near it. That's what we're building towards. And that's where you'll see that everything that we mine, everything that we pull from this system right now is going to be used to build an actual living, breathing kingdom where you get to be the lord of your own realm and visit each other.
Yeah, so that Kingdom Builder, yes, that's that entire tokenomics structure. If I were to show it to you, is completely mapped out. Also, we're way ahead. When people have a roadmap, there's sort of like in crypto, Web3, whatever terminology you want to use. When they get there and they take your money, then they kind of figure out how to build it. So and we didn't even touch on this, but we're pre-funded. So the reason that we have the International Money Management License. Not cheap. We have legal, and those are, if you go to the website, you look at the general counsel that we have, lawyers are not cheap, and they have extensive backgrounds. They're very experienced. Development is not cheap. All of this, everything that we're putting together is not cheap stuff. So there's been a lot of money put into launching this before we've ever taken a single dollar. I think that's really unusual in the Web3 space. Usually what tends to happen is, hey, we're going to raise a bunch of money and maybe somewhere down the road we'll eventually get around to building it. And then when they build it, it's some sort of like cheap looking little card game that looks like they spent $5,000 out of the 500 grand on it, and then they ended up taking most of the money to go buy a yacht or something to that degree. So I always come from, again, a traditional sort of business background, but I also understand Web3. I believe that you come to people with value before you ask for something, right? That's kind of my sort of philosophy, not just in business but in life in general. If I'm gonna come and say, hey, I got this great thing, I think if you participate in this, you could have this potential outcome, and it could be fun and entertaining and treading new space, right, in this industry. Then I have to come to you with something. I can't just come and say, hey, I've got all these plans and all these great ideas. Give me a bunch of money and I'll eventually get to it somewhere down the road. No, you have to come with something. So we've come with something. I think that's unusual in the space. And I actually hope that what we see is a lot of Web3, they're called projects. They should be called businesses, by the way. But I'll say Web3 projects actually morph a little bit more into businesses, and they come with real value, backed by investors. They are compliant, they have legal staff, the incredible engineers. We haven't even discussed the fact that we have a Hollywood-based story writer. We have composers, writing music and lore and story and narrative, and we're working on a comic book, an NFT artist. Like, we've built out this team, and we've done it with our own money. We had to. Before we could take a single dollar. So I think that's, I hope a new theme that we start to set in Web3. But, the sort of the key takeaway from this is I hope you sort of see Fifth Kingdom not being pigeonholed as one thing, but being set apart in this space as taking different components from different pieces that have not been executed very well and bringing them together and saying, hey, DeFi has great ideas. DeFi, I know, has had a lot of problems, right, in the space. We can go on for a long time about that. But DeFi does work if it's implemented correctly. Play to earn, yes, it's got a lot of problems. But play to earn, if implemented right, does work if it's done correctly. NFTs, if we look at this as a sort of a technology, as a form of ownership, why not make it like an identity? Put it in the middle of DeFi on one side, play to earn on the other, and have it be that sort of pillar that marries them both together. Take the best of both worlds instead of trying to operate separately and finding out that there's individual issues and saying, hey, there's best from here and there's best from here. And when you bring them together, it could be a beautiful relationship. That's really what Fifth Kingdom is. And on top of that, we've said, hey, let's build a story. This should be a story. This should be something that you guys actually want to get immersed in. This should be entertaining. This should be fun. It should have, I will say, sort of an addictive quality to it. If you want to come back, that you want to play it. Take the game, guys, that we've, it's an alpha. So by the way, I think it's pretty good even right now, but this is an alpha version. We're going to be improving on this. Go play it, post your scores. Just before I came on here, I think I got to level 11, I believe, stage 11. So you'll see a leaderboard, by the way. Go to fifthkingdom.com, connect your wallet, and you'll see the game that will be popping up as an option. You'll have a leaderboard on there. You can see I am currently number one, so I expect somebody in the community to beat me and overtake me. And go ahead and post your screenshots of your scores. We want to see how you guys are doing. What do you think of the game? Go ahead and tell me how many kills can you get and what stage can you get to. And by the way, try the different classes. There's a shop. You can earn the embers right now and go and purchase a character with those embers. Try different characters, try different combinations. Once you play this game, you're going to see there's different equipments and different levels of attacks and different sort of power-ups that, you're going to find a combination that I think works better than maybe what me and Zulfikar has found. And then, of course, we have our upcoming event on Monday. As Jean-Claude mentioned, he's going to mention that and announce it as soon as this is over. We have a recording of this that will be posted. And in the meantime, like I said, again, feel free to DM me, DM Zulfikar, tag us, send us a friend request. We would love to. I think we've built great rapport here so far, but I want to see us take this also to the next level as we continue building out. So if there's nothing left beyond that, we can go ahead and close up. Jean-Claude, anything as we close up that I'm forgetting?
No, I think that's it. And excited to have you all on Monday so we could play together.
Yes, especially as we play this game and we start saying things as we're playing it, it's going to be like, I think it's going to be that aha moment, because I myself am a visual learner. I think you guys will be as well. So that'll be a great time. I want to thank you again for joining, taking time out. People are in different locations. I don't know where you guys are located. Thank you for taking the time out. There's a lot of other things you guys could be doing right now, listening to, watching, talking about. So I want to thank you for your time and attention. Time is a currency. Attention is a currency. And I want to appreciate you for giving us both of those things. We will be talking soon. And until next time, guys, thanks a lot. God bless and take care.